the seal that God put on you actually comes out of a signet ring. I don't know if you've ever seen a ring like this that has an inverted image on it, so that what they would do is when they had a document that was a, for certain eyes only kind of document, they would put some wax on the document, and then when they would take the ring, they could press it into the wax, and the image on the ring became embedded in the wax. So for example, you remember Pontius Pilate crucified Jesus and then put him in a tomb. Well, the tomb was sealed with Pilate's signet ring. They put a string across it and put wax on either side of the string, and then they would take the signet ring of Pilate and they would embed it into the wax, and that wax would then seal the document. And the only people allowed to touch that document were those that had the authority given by the person who owned the ring. And what we're saying to you right now is that if you put your faith in Jesus, that Jesus put his seal of the Spirit on you, and you belong to God. If you're trying to live for God, but you're still holding on to your past, you will never be at your best. Listen to what Paul says in verse 5. Those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires. But those who live according to the Spirit have their mind set on what the Spirit desires. Now, obviously, that's kind of religious language, flesh and spirit. What does it mean? Well, you know what it means because you've seen the cartoon, where your conscience is depicted as a little white angel on one shoulder and a little red devil on the other shoulder. You've seen that? That's not devils and angels, that's you. Because you have both in you. You have these higher aspirations, a calling by God to a better you. But then you have these baser instincts. Where you live in your heart and mind is how you will live with your family and your community. And all Paul is saying here is that if you give focus on the flesh, if you let the flesh, your baser instincts give way, you will never live up to your higher calling in the Holy Spirit. Watch what he says next. The mind governed by the flesh is death, sometimes literally, but certainly metaphorically. You know what it's like to live with shame and guilt. But the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. Skip down to verse 9. You, however, are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if in fact the Spirit of God dwells in you. The Spirit in you transforms you for a better you. And if you can let the Holy Spirit transform you with freedom, the second thing he will do is the Spirit will transform you with hope. Now, I want to be clear. It's not just any hope. Christmas is coming. I hope I get an iPhone 11. It's not that kind of hope. I tell you, the hope that I really need, is the hope to belong. In a divine court of law, Jesus himself intercedes for us. Now, obviously, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But if you'll permit me, here's my imagination. When I stand before God in his throne of judgment, I picture it like a giant marble hall, a courtroom, marble floors, marble walls. The judge's bench is as high as a skyscraper, made out of solid oak. There are 2 tables in the front. The one on the right has 2 chairs. The one on the left has 1. One of the chairs on the right is for me, because it's my trial. My defense attorney sits next to me, the prosecutor sits across from me, and it begins. When the judge enters, we all stand, and the prosecutor begins. Your Honor, this man deserves punishment. I can tell you what he's done. I can even roll the videotape, but you know as well as I do, he deserves to be punished. My defense attorney will raise his hand and say, Your Honor, objection, I paid for that. The prosecutor continues, but Your Honor, according to your own divine law, You have said what the penalty of sin is. You cannot let him go and be true to your word. My defense attorney, this time with both hands raised, and you see from the scars exactly who it is. Your Honor, I paid for all of those sins. Seeing that he's losing the trial, the prosecutor will say, but Your Honor, he deserves what you said in your word. How dare you claim to be God if you don't punish those who break your word? With equal ire, my defense attorney, this time both hands slammed on the desk, objection, Your Honor. I paid for all of those. It is finished. And the gavel of God will come down with a thunderous roar. And when the echoes subside, we will hear these two words: not guilty. The Holy Spirit in you transforms you with confidence. Confidence over your past, but also for your future, because it gives you confidence over your enemies.